Hello folks. Today let's take a look at how you can use custom date formats to make your dates in Google Sheets look however you might want. So first of all, let's take a look at a cell. If I just double click a cell, nothing happens. But if I type in a date, let's just say I do 1/1, well that actually turns into a date. And now if I double click it, up pops a calendar. But what if I don't want to put in a date there? Now if I double click, nothing happens. But I can use a data validation. Here's my data validation for cell A1, and I can change from a drop down to is valid date. And then I could reject the input, and I could even do something like this, say enter a valid date, fine. So now if anyone double clicks in cell A1, I have a date picker automatically popping up. If I try to type anything else in that cell, I will get an error message. So you can set yourself up to use these um, data validations, setting them up as a valid date, and then you get a calendar pop-up. But notice the way the date is formatted, 1/1/2024. Well, let's go ahead and let's see what the value, we had already done a lesson on how dates are stored. Let's do the value of this. And we can see that 1/1/2024 has a value of 45,292. We've talked about how that actually, why that's the case in a different video. But I don't want this to say 1/1, even though the value of what's in here is 45,292, because that's how Google Sheets stores date values. So let's go to one quick way to change this is to go to my formats and change this to this sort of pre-established date. So I could change it to that. Now I've played around with some custom formats, so I have a couple of other formats that are showing up here. But let's take a look at custom date and time underneath this drop-down menu here, which I can get to from here, or I could get to from here, format, I could get to from here. We're going to just take a look at custom date and time. So right now this is being formatted as a month, day, month/day/year. Now I could change a bunch of things on here. I could change this to August. I could change this to a leading 0, or I could change this to a 2-digit year. And if I apply that, now I have Jan 1/24. Let's look at a different option here. Let's go ahead and take a look at custom date and time. Let's move this back to this with a leading 0, and now I have this as my date format. Now that's a little bit different than this format here. If I just went like that, notice the value never changes, but the date format, the way we view the date, changes. So I could come back here again. I could take a look at some of these other. It's remembering these last 3 choices I have. If I wanted it to actually say, let's just get rid of all these things. Let's say all I want it to be, and notice this pop up now, is a month, and I want the month to just be the name. And if I apply that, notice we get January. Now my value, because it says, even though that's a pop-up calendar and it is a date, when I just have the word January, that changes my value. I can no longer see my value. But if I go ahead and change this to something maybe a little different, like if I do Monday or August, and then let's go ahead and add, let's just put in a space, and then we'll add the day, and let's have the day be an abbreviation. Tuesday, let's go ahead and add the day again and have the day be 5. And then let's go ahead and put in a space. Well, let's go put in a comma and a space. And then let's add the year. And let's have the year be the full digit. Let's see what we get. Well, right now then, I have Tuesday, Tuesday. Well, you know what? I don't like the way that looks either. So let's go back and change to custom date and time. And you can't click and move these things around, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to delete all these things and go, my first thing I actually want is the day as Tuesday. Then I want a space, and then I want the month listed as a full month, Tuesday, August. Let's go ahead and put a space. Let's put in the day as leading 0, and then let's put in a comma and a space, and let's put in my full year. And now you can see I've got Tuesday, January 2nd, 24. Oh, I guess I did not get my full year, so again, coming back one last time, custom date and time. Let's put that as a full year, apply. Now notice, if I had extended this and actually put a date in here, let's say I do 2/1. Now notice that just pops in as a regular date. But if I wanted to apply this format, I could click that format, click on my paint format, and apply that particular format of a date to that. Now notice when I actually put this date in like that, my value returned. And I believe when we had this formatted as a 2-digit, I think that still left my value. So certain formats, this formula value can't decipher. Now let's see where we can put some of this to use. Here, for example, I have a payroll system where in this example, I'm showing my format of this date. And by the way, I have built a formula that takes the day that we find in D5, the start date D5 and end date, well, start date C5, end date D5. We add 1 to that, and we're using this as a sequence to build a set of days. So this is a single formula. This single formula builds the number of days in here. And then let's take a look at what we have as our custom date and time. We have just the day, month, and the day. So there's an example where I'm using a custom date format to have that. This format of these dates, by the way, these are pop-up menus because we've applied the data validation to that. This is a custom, well, it's not really a custom date. This is one you can just click on. Generally, it's always an example that's in there, month, day, year. So we have that example. Again, this is the same. And then let's take a look at a different example here. Let's take a look at our attendance example we've been working with, where a lot of this came up for me. So here, my format of these dates, again, is the simple month and day. The format of this date is, as you can see, this day, month, day, year. And the format of these days is just simply as a regular date. These are pop-up menus. Well, they're not pop-up menus, but these are dates that we put in. And as we've already put out a video that shows how these work. And we've added some features to this. Now this is actually just a drop-down menu that lets me choose a different month. As I choose a month, it automatically calculates those days in that month based off of this information. And this is a formula that's taking a drop-down of a month name and converting that into a date. So what this is doing is building a date, year to day, so that's today. We're getting the year for where we are right now. The month, our date value, is 1 and A1, April. So it's giving us the actual date of April 1st of this year. And then this formula is taking this and giving the end of the month. So as I drop down these menus here, you can see I get a set of values here, and these values are also dates, but we are formatting them differently. So date formatting is an interesting way to work with this data.